Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Caroline Logan. I'm Programme Director for BuildForce, reporting to you from finally a sunny Dorset day. Yay, the sun is shining. I hope the sun is shining with you too, wherever you are listening from. So today we have two of our veterans joining us and one of our fantastic mentors to take you into the world of social value. It's a huge space and one that we know lends very well to our military transferable skills. So sit back, enjoy. Over to you, Angela.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the BuildForce Virtual Career Chat. I'm Angela Forbes, and it's a pleasure to welcome you, so thank you for dialing in. Now, in 1973, an innovative Dutch engineer called Dick Dusseldorf once said that the time is not far off when companies will have to justify their worth to society. And it's very much been the case over the last few decades, where our industry has evolved to have a triple bottom line view of business, giving environmental and social outcomes as much importance as financial results. So today we are going to explore the area of social value. So that is making a positive impact to people in the communities where we build. So our incredible speakers today are Michelle Wiggins, Senior Social Value Manager Defence with Amy. And from Kia, we welcome Megan Porter, Communications Manager, and the lovely Alison Reid, Supply Chain Development Manager. So we'll take questions at the end. Feel free to write comments as we go, but we'll crack on this morning. So we'll hand over to Megan and Alison and we'll switch our cameras off.
So just introduction to me first. So I left the Royal Engineers last January. I came through BuildForce. I worked previously in Kia as in inclusive recruitment, which I'll tell you more about in a little bit, which overlapped a lot with social responsibility, social value, as I helped people that would be disadvantaged get into our business. I've been at Kia for a year and I've recently moved over to be the communications partner for our southern region. By education, I am an English graduate, even though I was in the Royal Engineers. And I started, when I left the military, I started as a project manager. So I, like many people, left the military, thought, oh, everyone's doing project management, that sounds a bit of me. I went into a design consultancy as a project manager and I only lasted 5 months. It absolutely was not the right choice for me. It was too far removed from people. It was, from me, it was too structured, too far out from seeing any tangible progress. We hadn't even got the project to approval and it was absolutely the wrong fit, which I probably, if I had have thought more carefully, would have realised before. But hey ho, you live and you learn. And I put this in when I left the military. This is what I thought my career would look like. It's what it looked like in the military. Nice step by step, very obvious progression. But actually, when you leave, really the world is your oyster. And even though the one on the right looks a bit of a mess, actually it's opened up loads of opportunities for me that wouldn't have been the case otherwise. So it's just something to worth keeping in your head. And I'll pass over to Alison to introduce herself.
Thank you, Megan. So a little bit about me. I joined Kia 3.5 years ago. I'm Supply Chain Development Manager. I'm a mother to a serving soldier, and it's quite a privilege to be able to be part of the team today to help you and be a mentor for BuildForce. So yes, it's all great there. Emerging talent for Wales at the moment. I'm leading on all the emerging talent recruitment. And we've got loads of opportunities coming through. But looking at my role previously, I was a CSR coordinator for majority of the time with Kia. So I've got a bit of knowledge of that. And as I said, 3.5 years with Kia now and thoroughly enjoying the opportunities that this is offering within the role. I've got a business and management degree and I'm a BuildForce mentor, so hopefully I can support as many of you on the call today with some information. Who we are. So Kia Construction, we're a management company. We're a leading provider infrastructure and construction and property. And we are in across all the regions. We're national. We've got our I'm not quite sure, Megan, how many employees we've got at the moment.
Just over 10,000.
There you go. So obviously the business divisions we've got is transportation, natural resource and nuclear networks, construction and property. So cultures, As Kia, we are committed to having and everybody feels as if they belong and contribute and thrive. So collaborative, trusted and focused. So I'm not going to read them all out there, but yeah, we've got strong values in Kia.
It's worth noting as well that when you leave the military, to look for a company that have values where you think you'll fit well. So every company, just like the military, will have a set of values that change how the business feels. It's not just words on a page. And it's important to have a think, where would I fit best, not only in terms of job and profession, but where do I feel like I fit in as well.
So we're looking at today, what is CSR, corporate social responsibility. So corporate social responsibility is a management concept whereby companies integrate social and environmental concerns in their business, operations and interactions with their stakeholders. It's generally understood as being the way through where the company achieves a balance of economic, environment and social imperatives. Whilst at the same time addressing the expectations of shareholders and stakeholders. And a lot of our work is currently on frameworks. It could be a health framework, local authority framework. So we get quite high targets to abide with the corporate social responsibility side of the business. I just admitted somebody in. Hey, Megan.
Oh, sorry, I froze out.
It's okay. What is CSR in practice? So for community engagement and social value across the regional business, to promote social value, ensuring all regionally based staff understand the social value policy and strategy. Develop and propose a bespoke offer for each bid, monitoring scoring and feedback from bid submissions to ensure improvement. Management, employment and skills delivery focus on employment, education, communities and communication achievement. Provide adequate and relevant support to site teams to deliver contractual commitments and add to social value, including engaging with the local voluntary sector, charity organisations and EVPs. Monitor and report on activity in line with the key performance indicators on projects. These are obviously given to us by local authorities and our clients. Work in partnership with our procurement teams to improve our approach and working with SMEs and social enterprises. Ensure effective social value communication methods are in place, and we like to give out newsletters every quarter, our social value fees and emails just to inform everybody in the community where we are in the project and what we're actually delivering and timescales and where we're at with it. And we attend relevant industry events as well to support anything to do in relation with each of our projects.
Perfect. So thanks for that, Alison. So one thing I just want to cover before we move on is bids. So that can sometimes be a bit of industry jargon. So how construction wins work. Clearly, it's a bit different to some other companies that you might know. For example, Amazon largely sell to URI customers. In construction, we sell our services to industry. So we might sell to a particular client, whether that's a public or private sector client. When that client has a project they want building, they'll put it out to something called tender, which essentially they give the requirements. They say, this is what we want to happen. And each of the different construction companies that could build that will then put in a bespoke bid. And those will all be weighted against each other. And then the strongest bid will then move forward and build that project. Social value is something that massively contributes towards the success of a bid. It's no longer something that's nice to have or a fluffy thing. It's the difference between winning work and not. And in construction, having a really solid pipeline of work that you've secured far out in advance is how you build a really successful business. So you can see the links there between social value and building a successful business. So in simple terms then, because, spot the army one, I like things to be simple. So number one is social value. You need to propose a plan. I'm sure we've all done that before. So think about what needs to happen, what's going to be the most beneficial for that bid or that community. So we'll go through a little exercise in a bit, but you have to think, what's the situation, using those old terms, what's going to provide the biggest benefit to this local community, what can we deliver, how can we resource it, etc., etc. So think up your plan of what's going to deliver the most social value for that project that will benefit the local communities. Because at the end of the day, if I told you there was a £100 million project getting built at the end of your road, I guarantee the first thing you're going to think is, oh my goodness, the inconvenience. So we have to make sure that the social value we propose is beneficial to local people. So propose a plan. Number 2, resource it. What are you going to need to do it? Are you going to need people? Are you going to need budget? Are you going to need resource hours? Are you going to need specific resources, physical things? And how are you going to do that? So that will build it out. 3, deliver it. So that you'll need to break that down into action steps of how we're going to deliver what we've said we're going to deliver. So thinking in terms of time and space. You know, not every title, not every job that uses project management skills will be called project manager. And hopefully this is bringing it to life. So, you know, how you physically going to get it delivered. And then R2, report and returns. So making sure we're keeping the clients, the project managers, local authority, etc., all in line with what we're doing, and keeping the community informed as well of what's going on and how we're measuring that impact. So similar rules. Sorry,
yeah.
Alison.
It's also about leaving the legacy, isn't it, of where the projects are going to be.
Yeah. So similar roles and tasks in the military. So I've just put these here to start making you think about things you've maybe enjoyed before. So, you know, a lot of this is done with working with younger people in the community. So have you ever mentored a junior soldier and really enjoyed that, maybe at phase 1, phase 2, or in your unit? Have you ever done any military engagement, gone to a local school and presented about your career? Have you ever gone to a local charity event? Have you ever gone to a local summer fair? Have you ever done military recruitment for army recruitment or regimental or corps engagement teams? Have you ever worked in a planning function? I imagine many people here in some respect have all worked in planning. Have you ever had to back brief a commander and say, this is what you've told me to do, this is what I suggest? Have you ever had to brief your team members and say, this is the plan, let's get cracking? And have you ever had to motivate people and say, right, I need your support here? I imagine everyone in this call has done that in various guises. And these are all things that will really help in CSR. So I'm going to ask you to do the dreaded thing next and make that long reach to remove yourself from mute if you're happy, or you can put it in the chat. So just as an example, so you're helping the bid team win a project to build a new secondary school. You know that the area that the school's in has really high levels of young people who aren't in employment, education, or training. So we would refer to that as NEET, N-E-E-T. So what sort of things could we maybe propose that might help that local community with that specific problem while we deliver that project? You can type it in the chat if Alison, if you can read them out, or you can take yourself off mute. Just 30 seconds, really quick. So I know someone will know an answer. I am happy to sit in the silence, guys. Great, John Healy, increase funding for post-16 education via local FE organisations. So we wouldn't provide the funding, but we could go in and figure out, well, do we have any training capacity? Do we pay into the apprenticeship levy? So what apprenticeships could we offer? There you go, Lee. Enhanced apprenticeships, work experience, absolutely massive.
Yeah.
These are all really, really great. Anything you'd add, Al?
Yeah, Kia have actually got their own Kia degree programme as well, where we've partnered up with Sheffield Hallam University, and there's opportunities there for construction management, quantity surveying and civil engineering.
Perfect. So building on that example then, what sort of actions might we suggest to deliver those outcomes? So say we're going to try and get more people into apprenticeships at Kia. Anybody from the floor think what physical actions might we need to take to start to deliver that outcome? And don't be shy. I know that I've got a lot of very intelligent people on this call, so I can guarantee you we're not looking for any really niche answers. Don't worry.
While we're waiting for the chat, Megan, we'd also offer industrial placements, and we also summer work experience, maybe anything up to 6 to 8 weeks, which will be paid. Anything other than 3 weeks work experience is all paid.
Perfect. So we've got some bits coming in. So Amy, presentations at schools in the local community, absolutely. John, stakeholder engagement, including the local authority. Yeah, having a really good network is key in this. At the end of the day, it's something we need to work together on. Road shows from Dan, visits, absolutely. People that work in corporate social responsibility, they tend to be out and about a lot, meeting with people, encouraging site colleagues to come and do the same. So yeah, great answers. And then I've just put in resource constraints that we might face. I mean, it's always the big 3. It's time, it's money, and it's do we have an existing network? So these are all things, as a working in this space, you're going to need to consider how that's going to impact your plan. So picking a job. So we've just blasted a lot of information at you there. And hopefully a lot of people that get involved with CSR, and it's definitely a big motivator for me, was when I left the military, I felt like I had a job that really had an impact, and that was really important for me. It was something I was really proud of. So corporate social responsibility was a big pull, making sure I went to a company that valued it, but then also I had a tangible opportunity. So when you're leaving the military, you've got these amazing opportunities working with BuildForce. This is sort of Alison and I's sort of top tips now, and we'll go to questions after Michelle's spoken. So you don't need to do this. You don't need to just throw a dart at a dartboard and go to the first one that takes you. You've got some amazing skills, and I genuinely mean that. I'm sure loads of people tell you that, but you don't just have to take the first thing that comes. You can do a job that you love. You don't have to follow Mother Duck either. You don't have to follow the rest of your colleagues into a set career, because everybody's different. We've all have very different military careers. So it makes sense that we might want different things when we leave. And finally, that's a nice bit of AT, me getting absolutely soaked, but you can paddle your own canoe. You can go in the direction that's going to suit you, and take the time on that. So just a bit of a confidence booster, hopefully, for everybody, because I know it can be a hard job market. Some people might have been applying for longer than others. So I'll put this together. So average time employers spend looking at a CV. Alison, what's the answer?
5 to 7 seconds.
It is, unfortunately, a lot of the time. In Kier, slightly less so, but a lot of people apply for jobs. So really making your CV, and Caroline and Angela and Kathleen, the team at BuildForce, will make sure that it is absolutely top quality. Unprofessional email addresses, 76% people judge the email address. Yes. So just make sure you've got one. And a top tip that I know that Angela and the team tell you is maybe make a separate email address just for your job applications, so nothing gets missed in your Amazon offers or wherever you shop. So at the minute, depending on the job, it's about 118 people per job. So if you're finding it hard, use people like myself, Alison, Caroline, within an inch of our lives, because the closer you can network in, the less you have to compete with. And this is just a bit of a, to show you the funnel. So from one person that gets the job, it can be a lot of people seeing the job post, people applying, and then getting to the bottom. So we'd always say, use your BuildForce mentor as much as you can. Use the network, because it's a lot easier to be successful for a job when you're one of only a few candidates in the race. So really do think, it seems a bit like being cheeky, but it's absolutely not. And yeah, we'll go through this at the end, but hopefully that was a good little run through from a career perspective, and we'll let Michelle crack on and do hers. But yeah, bottom line, CSR, absolutely cracking career, so many opportunities, so interesting, great people that you'll meet, and things that you'll end up doing that you just never would have seen yourself doing, which is part of the fun of it all.
And the QR code is to access the Care portal, where all the availabilities of roles are.
Thank you very much for having me on the call, and it's a really great opportunity to kind of talk a little bit more about social value. And I think Megan touched on it really well there, that it's important to kind of align your standards and values, because that towards a company and a role, because that'll give you the purpose. And social value, when you're in social value, having that purpose. So for me, people are my kind of main driver, and kind of challenging injustice, challenging inequalities, and making sure equal access across the board. So if you've got those types of drivers, you'll be a real natural fit in the social value kind of realm. But just to tell you a little bit where I'm from, so I'm now working with Amy. So they are a huge organisation in the UK, employing over 11,000 people, but their focus is around delivering sustainable infrastructure solutions, enhancing life and protecting shared future. And they have lots of business units. So they have complex facilities where I sit, which have kind of contracts with the government, with MOJ, with public estates, so your schools. And then they've got the highways, so national highways, rail, and they've got their consulting and advisory analytics area as well. So it's quite a big organization. And in terms of social value within the organization, it's very much sits at the heart, because they understand the value of kind of investing in their people. You get more out of them if you invest in them, but also investing in the communities in which we serve. You then can obviously have more of a positive impact, and that helps you have the case studies to then demonstrate that in bids going forward for future work and growth. So it's really driven hard in the organisation, and especially since the Social Value Act in 2012 and the government social value model was released in 2020. So because the government's put that kind of focus on it, it now drives industry. So you'll see more and more roles pop up. But to tell you a little bit about my kind of pathway into social value. So I started off in the Navy. So I was an aircraft engineer in the Navy for around 8 or 9 years. And I left and then became a mum, had to move around as a spouse with my partner, and I started to find that kind of injustice, and I really didn't like the thought that actually I couldn't get access into employment because now I was moving around every couple of years, and I was kind of supporting my spouse, but I wanted to do something again for me. So I actually set up a social enterprise doing soft FM down south, and kind of grew a business to allow spouses back into employment, which they could then take the business model and take that wherever they went. And I ran that for about 7 years, and that was my first kind of dipping the toe into social value, because I realized that actually I'm benefiting the spouses, getting them back into employment, and I was so passionate about it. And then when we moved up north, I thought, you know what, I'll sell the business down south and I'll go into industry. And I saw a role called a community engagement coordinator, and it was kind of the bottom of the kind of tree for getting into social value in industry, but a fantastic role where you can work with several clients across a certain region and look at what they want to deliver into the community. So that could look like focusing on the environment. So it might be waste education, recycling, it could be creating wildflower meadows, looking at the biodiversity. It could have been working with schools, giving insights into the career industry, setting up construction hubs where they get real hands-on experience, or it could have been working with the supply chain around more sustainable procurement. So there was a kind of whole range of activities you would be involved with for set clients. And then the opportunity came up to work with Army headquarters. So I moved into Army headquarters and worked as a community manager. And that was very much focused on the internal community, and kind of pushing out their wellbeing initiatives, and focusing on their working kind of alongside their comms to push out the information and increase their engagement. And I absolutely loved that, and that was brilliant. And it was so different to the tactical delivery of being a community engagement coordinator. As a community manager, you had more of a strategic role. So that was my kind of dipping the toe in there, and I really loved that, and did really well. And when Amy approached me, they had just won the housing, the military housing contract, and for the first time ever, social value was in the contract, because of the Social Value Act and the government social value model. So they needed someone with lived experience to really kind of work with the client and look at how we support our military communities. So my role is to lead for the defence contracts, and so I look after the housing and Whitehall, but really lead on those kind of social programs, initiatives, those environmental social kind of programs and initiatives, and the kind of more economic ones where we look at the supply chain. So that is my kind of day-to-day role. Within Amy, the kind of starting point in social value, if you start from the bottom, there's a social value advisor, and you don't need kind of a qualification for that. You've got to have the passion and the drive. That's really important. And you've got to be able to demonstrate, like Megan touched on, you would have had elements within your career now where you've engaged with the community at some point, get that on your CV, any kind of experience around that. Because when we look at the CVs for them kind of entry roles, that's the stuff we want to see. We want to see things that mention kind of community engagement, the wording social value, ESG, if you've heard of that, that's environmental, social and governance. A little bit more of a investor term. Our business is leaning more that way now, but we still very much have a social value arm, because that's the middle pillar of ESG. But the terminology is key, and corporate social responsibility, CSR, having that on there. But the thing is just to demonstrate that tactical delivery on there. And then above that, you can go into the social value manager roles. And on every account now within the organization, they're placing a social value manager to work with the client, identify the priorities, engage at a local level, see what those local priorities, and then kind of shape up those initiatives and programs that are going to be delivered as part of the contract. And then you can go higher. So my role is a senior social value manager, so I sit more as a strategic level, and then above that you're into kind of the head of social value, and then the director space. So there's plenty of progression points. You just need to get in there, and I think more and more we are opening those positions to get people in from the military, because we love your leadership style. We know that you do kind of project management as a given or on exit, but we can work with you in your kind of transition period. If you're looking to utilize your enhanced learning credits, there are great courses out there like corporate social responsibility and sustainability. You can do that at level 4. That's a brilliant one for kind of an entry level. You don't need any prior qualifications for that one, but that's a brilliant one for coming into the industry. And kind of salary wise around that, the entry levels are between kind of 30 and 45, and then you are kind of social value managers 50 to 60, and then the senior social value managers are that kind of 60 to 80 bracket. So the salaries are really competitive as well. It will go on your kind of experience that you can demonstrate, so don't feel like you're pigeonholed, and they constantly review them on an annual basis. In terms of skills wise, the types of skills that are key for social value, the ability to listen, because you've got to understand that local level need, because what might work as a great kind of skills program in Wittering might not work in Colchester, because they might not have the same need. So you might find yourself running kind of 12 different programs just to suit the local level needs, and obviously making sure that aligns with the client priorities, and the client will set those out at the very beginning. So that's the easy part. It's understanding the local level requirement is the more difficult part. So listening, great communication is really good. The project management, when I left, I did the Prince 2 project management when I left the Navy, and I thought, that was going to be the thing that I needed, but actually I didn't really use it until I got properly into kind of the social value role, and now it's absolutely key. It is a great skill to have and utilize. You've got to be pretty good at problem solving, because very often you are unpicking kind of issues in local areas, and you've got to think of something really innovative, something that's not been done before, because 9 times out of 10 something has been tried there already. So you've got to be quite good at problem solving, and having empathy is really good. And these are things that in the military is it's a given. These skills, these are things you have all got, I'd imagine already, and the ability to network. So as part of your role in social value, very much networking to find out what else is going on in industry, and what else you can kind of collaborate on, because it's all good and well one organization delivering social value at a local level, but if you collaborated and worked with several organizations, that's just going to have maximum impact for the community, for the planet, and for the people who are involved. So that's a really key one. And I think that is everything from me. Any questions?
Fantastic, Michelle. That was great. Thank you very much. If we could ask Megan to join us. Alison, Caroline, come back on. So if you do have any questions, please put them in the box or raise your hand just whilst you're warming up. I'll just ask a few to get us going. So Megan, to you first of all, thank you for starting it off today. And we hold you in such high regard, Megan, and love that you're comfortable with your career to date and your invaluable learnings along the way. And they say that you must make mistakes to be able to learn from them, but you need to learn fast. That's the key. So has it taken experience and wisdom to get to that place of comfort, or is it a military resilience kicking in? And the reason we ask is we've got some candidates who've been thrown a little by not finding that fit or that first role upon leaving the armed forces. So what advice would you give to them?
Yeah, like, it is hard. I just, don't be too hard on yourself. Sometimes in the military we can be pretty hard on ourselves. This is a big change. So very few things that we when you started learning how to drive, you didn't jump in the car with your driving instructor and scoot down the motorway, parallel park, no bother. You probably had a few boo-boos along the way. It's the exact same with moving career. So the learning fast thing, I think in the military, like I've definitely always found people are pretty quick at deciding. You know your own instincts. We tend to be quite logical. So when something's not working, it's easier to recognize and then think, why is it not working? I'm more comfortable with change. I think we underestimate that as a real strength. So a lot of people that I've found since I left are a little bit more fixed because they've not had to undergo some of the challenges in the military of moving jobs, moving location, going on ops with little notice, going on exercise with little notice. So it's part of it is the sort of inbuilt resilience. But don't be afraid to admit that, I actually didn't get that quite right, because I'd much rather, I think it says a lot more about, the people that you're willing to say, do you know what, that's not for me, than people that stick it out and make themselves really unhappy. I love coming to work, genuinely. Like, I love my job. If I had have tried to get this job straight out of the army as a communications manager, I would never have got it, ever. And that's not because of anything else. That's probably just a statement of fact. But I've taken my time. I've got to know the industry. I've got to know what bits I actually enjoy, and then had the confidence to go, do you know what? I want to spend 40 hours a week doing something I enjoy. I'm only 30. Obviously, I look a lot younger, I know, but I've got a long career ahead of me. Got a long career ahead of me, and I want to, to enjoy it. I'm not just in it for a wage, although getting paid well is always a nice bonus. So yeah, definitely don't be afraid to say, yeah, it's not for me, and move on. It's great to hear other people doing well in whatever they've chosen. But yeah, you don't always get it right first time. That's really, really, really normal. Just turn to the right and crack on, make a change.
I think it's your kindness and your humility, Megan, that just makes you so incredibly special. And I think everybody watching this just thinks, do you realise how talented and special you are? You probably don't yet. But just to both you and Alison, so we've heard corporate social responsibility, social value, social sustainability, community engagement officer, community engagement coordinator, community manager. There's lots of titles in this
Absolutely.
space. So for those out there searching at the moment, what would your advice be? Is it all of those titles, and is it up to the employer to decide the level or rank you go in at? What would your advice be?
Definitely. And I think for you guys that's on the call today, definitely reach out to BuildForce, because some of the quality of the candidates that we've had through the doors has been superb. It's made our job easier to recruit as well, because obviously BuildForce have done the hard work. So it's just for us now to recognise what they're capable of, and sometimes not tell them what they're going to be able to do, but what they're not going to do. I know I've had two amazing candidates. One has come on to join Kia. He had all the credentials right for that role, a role that he didn't even know that he was going to go for. Totally different. We just got to know him. We got to know his skills, his qualities, the type of person, and then we sort of fitted and molded the job more to his specification. And then most recently, we've had another gentleman that if I put him in construction, it would be just totally wrong thing to do. So I'm currently mentoring him now with a total direction on a larger scale, more strategic planning, looking at possibly government, health board. And we've got a call this month with the local health board. And it's as for us as mentor having the guts to divert you away as well and support you in what we think you would actually thoroughly enjoy. But with construction, I believe you would agree, Meg, is there are so many roles that you don't know of, and you're not going to know until you're actually in the company. And you know what? You just whittle your way through, as Meg's done, and found a role that she actually likes, and she thinks, I like a little bit of this, and I like a little bit of that. And 90% of the time, there is a role within the business for that type of those skills.
Yeah, and like I say, you know,
Awesome.
you're so lucky that with BuildForce, you've got access to people in industry who are amazing. So like Michelle and Alison, I think you'll agree, CSR is relatively a small community. So like Michelle's example of her career, you know, you've done quite a few different things, and I imagine encountered quite a few different people doing similar jobs for different places. So if you're confused and you're like, I want to do this, but I'm not sure, come and talk to us and let us network you in.
Yeah.
It's like I always say, it's easy to win a race when you're the only one running. That's the only way I'd ever win a running race.
Yeah.
So come to us and use us. Otherwise, you know, BuildForce and your mentors, they're not just there to red pen your CV. In fact, that's probably the least valuable thing we all do.
Yeah. And I think
You
we
know,
both have got that influence, Meg, that we actually can take control of some of the candidates that we have, and we've got an influence within Kia, because obviously we're respected within our roles. So it's easier to work with us rather than go out there on your own. So come via BuildForce, then via us. So,
and
you know,
we'll help
you're
you, you know,
blocking the
Michelle.
gatekeeper off. Yeah.
Yeah, Michelle,
exactly.
you know, if you're not right for Kia, then it's like, well, why don't you go to Amy or a subcontractor? And I know that Michelle would do that too, because that's better for everyone. Is that right, Michelle?
Yeah, absolutely. I was just going to jump in there. So when you were talking about kind of those with the struggles at the moment, looking, one of the great things that I read a while ago was the PI model. Has everyone, I don't know if anyone's heard of it. So it's performance, image, exposure. And it very much talks about your next step actually being a 60% about your exposure. So think about that, you know, your performance and your CV, brilliant, but it's about your networking and your exposure that actually is going to secure that next job. So go on to the likes of LinkedIn, utilize BuildForce's industry contacts, ask for the people who are in charge of the kind of social value, ESG, CSR roles, and ask to be kind of, you know, connected with them. But we genuinely, I love hearing from those that want to get into the function, because it's the people that are like-minded like me. So I love to kind of bring them in and get them on board. But just think about that. It's all about the networking piece. And when you're talking about your image, that is kind of 30% of the model. The image should be, you know, your LinkedIn page. If you're wanting to come into the social value realm, make sure everything you're sharing on your LinkedIn has got that story that you want to tell about your brand. Think about the things that you're resharing, put your comments on there, tag in those that you know in industry that are kind of leaders in that area, and just to get noticed in that kind of realm.
And just on that, Michelle, you mentioned that your inspiration for the role was to challenge injustice. Can I ask what you think the kind of biggest injustice is? What's your biggest fight at the moment?
The biggest one, I think, is the getting like the routes into employment. Right. That's a huge one that we're focusing on, which is obviously key for supporting today as well, getting people into industry really. I know the government's putting a huge focus on apprenticeships. There's going to be 200,000 green apprenticeships coming out, but that doesn't help those that are already facing those key barriers. So, you know, what are the pathways and programs we can create? And as an organisation, Amy are creating we've got about 12 different pathways to come in for those leaving service. Next week we launch our Service to Success. So Service to Success is a program about kind of engaging early for those who might not be leaving for 12 months or 6 months, or if you are just about out the door, still get in touch with us. But it's about the key kind of motto with it is getting that early engagement to shape what you want to do, shape the courses that you could utilize your enhanced learning credits for, come into us, and then you do a rotation. So you'll not go into a fixed role, you'll do that rotation. And there's 2 levels. So for kind of, it's an open entry for this Service to Success, but for those kind of your sergeants, your chiefs and above, we want to look at there's an elite veterans program, which is more of an account director because of their kind of leadership skills. So there's 2 programs. The Elite is piloting already and live at the moment, but the Service to Success goes live next week. So we're really excited to share that, and please do apply when you see the posts.
We'll and just on that, we'll push that out within the community watching as well, just to see if we can kind of help them get a foot in the door. So just on the employment entryway that you mentioned there, you said that so you've got running all these different pathways at the moment, but obviously it still comes down to the CV. And you said about getting community engagement, a passion for people, helping others, get all of that onto the CV. Yeah. When we get a candidate to the interview stage, what kind of questions are you actually asking them at that point?
That's a really good question. So the kind of questions I ask is, what's their key drivers? So that's normally one where I understand if it really is a good fit for social value, or if there should be something else kind of leading them to a different route. But the key drivers, what wakes them up every day, and also where they can demonstrate. So can they give me examples of where they've engaged with the community or made a difference? That's the kind of 2 key questions.
Okay, and to you, Alison?
Don't underestimate the skills you've got, definitely, and that's what we want to see come across and shine on your CV. Never underestimate the capabilities and the qualities and the courses, what you've already done. They are transferable. Also, one thing I would say is on your CV, also mention the area that you're looking for to be working in as well, because sometimes we don't have that, and then we've got to try and scramble around where we're going to actually locate people. So it's good then if we know where they're hoping to be based, that makes our job a lot easier.
Okay, and just on the roles themselves, and this is to anyone, are these head office based roles? Are these site based roles? Are you out and about every day? What does the working week look like?
It depends, but you need to be willing to get on the train or get in your car and get out and about. You can't deliver social value from behind a desk 9 to 5. Communities don't exist in 2 dimensions, do they? People are real. People have actual communities that they care about, and you will only get the ability to find out what will matter to them and deliver that if you are out and about. And that is absolutely one of the best things about the job, is getting into communities. So if that sort of flicks your switch, which, sitting in an office every single day, obviously I'm currently in my home office working from home. So probably, it'd be a bit hard to do this if I was out and about, but yeah, and, typical day, that is sort of the cliched thing. No 2 days will be the same. Depends on the project, depends on the community, depends on what you're delivering, what time frame you've got. So yeah, definitely you need to sort of like being out and about a bit, face to face with people, but then complementing that with the ability to be organized, be thorough, be good at informing people that don't necessarily have this as top of their agenda, bringing them on the journey with you. So all those sort of skills that are about people, they're underpinned by like good management, good organization, because that's how you have excellent delivery. You don't have excellent delivery by running around like a maniac trying to figure out what you're doing. You're there to deliver a strategic output, essentially, whether you're the planner of that output or you're the deliverer or a combination. It comes back to those core skills, which every single person on this call will have, I guarantee.
And just on runabout, sorry, Michelle.
I was going to just jump in there. So if you are someone who does not want to sit behind a desk every single day, it is a great role in terms of that variety, because I could have a stakeholder meeting in the morning, I could be in a school for an hour in the afternoon, and then I could be working from home for the last hour. The next day I could be traveling to the north of Scotland to see a church project, and then it's so varied. You've got to be willing to allow that kind of flexibility with the role. So if it's something that that kind of balance is not something that you like, then it's probably not a good fit that way.
Okay, and just on the kind of runabout mannequin, the impression I get is you're so on the side of the candidates that you equally feel their frustrations, because sometimes your computer says no, or your policy or procedure doesn't allow it, or your business unit approvals won't allow something to be pushed through. So you too get frustrated, don't you? How do you deal with that frustration if you've got cats that you kick or plants you shout at, or what do you do at a hard day?
Figure a way around it.
Yeah.
There's the socializing part.
Find a way. There will be a way, and even if it's not in your business, Like when I was working in inclusive recruitment, we had so many partners and other businesses that were doing the same thing. So if we had I worked a lot with people leaving the criminal justice system. If I had a great candidate who I knew I couldn't place because of location or skills or whatever, but I knew that another company would absolutely, benefit from them. That's where you find the way. Our computer might say no, but that's not the end of the road, is it?
And you'll find, because those that are in the kind of CSR social value realm, the network, we genuinely do care. So if we cannot support that person, we will work with our contacts and say, that we just can't get them in here. Can you do anything? So it is, we care about the well-being.
And balancing the frustrations with, see, when you make it work.
Yeah,
buzzing.
And
that's the thing. You have to balance that. Like when you really, really care about something, when it's not going to plan, it can really it can really take a toll on you because you really do care. But likewise, if you're impacted by the lows, then you're absolutely just as impacted by the highs. And when you find out a candidate that's been out of work for X amount of years, or an apprentice that thought, after school they were just gonna that they were going to be unemployed, like having those discussions with candidates, you absolutely can ride the high as well. Which is it swings and roundabouts.
Okay, and a question's come in from John. So John, I'm just going to paraphrase. You're welcome to come on and just ask it on your own. So it's around the cost of CSR. So obviously it's going to hit the bottom line. It's going to cost a company money to run some of these programs and these pathways. Do you find that kind of your senior leaders are very much on side with this, or is this a marketing sales pitch, if you like?
Yeah. The CSR costs now for each of the projects, I think it's, and the marks towards the scoring as well has gone so much more higher towards CSR. The work our CSR people have to deliver now is phenomenal, and the ask is massive as well. And with that ask, there does come a cost, and that's a cost down to the company then as well. I'm sure Michelle will be able to agree with that. Yeah. It's one of the things, there is no addition. We can't actually charge extra for the work we're delivering. That has just got to be coming in as part of the business cost.
There'll always be a target operating model, so there'll be a kind of head count agreed at the kind of contract mobilization. And for the likes of like this contract that I'm on, there was a position for a social value manager, but once they started to mobilize and mature, they realized actually the function's getting bigger, and actually to deliver the additional benefits as agreed, we need to invest more into the function. So there are constantly that look on the function at the moment, because if you think back 5 years ago, it was hard in social value. It was hard to get defined budgets. It was hard to get people in the functions. Now, because of the government's drive and because of its weighting on the bids, it is now seen as, yes, we need to resource that, and yes, we need to allocate a budget. So it's a lot easier now than it was 5 years ago to get into the positions.
And in terms of, does it make the money winning less? Oh, sorry, Al. It's hard to make money on a bid you haven't won, isn't it?
Yeah.
Guarantee you making no money off that bid. So even though that, yes, these CSR things do cost money, everything costs money. One, we go back to our values we showed you at the start in terms of like value in our people, invest in our communities, lasting legacies. This is a visceral demonstration of us doing that. There's many other ways that we do it, but this is a way for companies to put their money, effort, time, resources where we say. And two, really, it's a bid winner. You're missing out on a bid by half a point. The margins are tight. There's some amazing construction firms in this country. Some amazing construction firms all over the world. And whenever it's so competitive, what is your cutting edge? Clearly being technically brilliant, being safe, all that stuff's amazing. But this comes into it as well. This can be the decider, and that's the attitude. That's the change.
And we're seeing the weighting on social value. It used to be kind of 5-10%, then it's kind of creeped up to 20%, and we're now seeing the percentage of up to 30%.
Yeah,
that's only going to get stronger. So they have to demonstrate, and you have to demonstrate the activity before you put it in the bid. So they've got to work on the current accounts and invest in the functions now to get the future work. So it's a win-win really.
And just on the wins, Michelle, what has been your greatest achievement in this space, or something heartwarming that's happened? Anything that sticks with you?
Yeah,
I'm sure there's a huge list.
Yeah, I have got a huge list, to be honest. One of the key things I set up in a school in Sunderland was a construction hub at the school. They had no access to industry, and we worked with the supply chain, and then they had a fully functioning kind of construction department in that area, in that school, and the supply chain went in every month to do insights. Absolutely fantastic engagement, lots of females as well going in. And another one is kind of developing, as a veteran and a spouse, developing the kind of programs into Amy for them. They're letting us lead. So I've been a kind of big voice on that program, which has been fantastic, and I'm excited to see the next 12 months of that kind of maturing.
Wow. And Megan, as you close the chapter on that part of your career, kind of biggest achievements or something you're most proud of?
Yeah, I think we grew in the year that I was in that role. We grew the number of veterans getting hired into care by over a third. Last numbers TBC, but an increase of around 30 to 40% dependent. And that's not just veterans, that's reservist spouses as well. But the biggest achievement in that is that they weren't just getting placed in copy and paste roles. We had people being placed in such a diverse range of roles to actually suit them. And second, similar with our program for, getting people employed from our refugee program. We ran a mentoring program for them, secured full-time employment with care, growing our Making Ground program for people with convictions to, again, over 40% increase in the year, hiring over 50 people in the year with coming from that disadvantaged background. So yeah, it's something to be really proud of, and also something that even if you do move to other functions, you always hold with you, because you don't just stop, you don't just flick the switch off, do you? You don't just stop caring all of a sudden because you're not paid to care. I mean, you care because you care. So it's nice to then carry that forward and hopefully be a bit of an advocate in the business.
And that caring, Alison, obviously is a mum to somebody that's serving at the moment. You're taking on this pastoral role within your career as well. Is that exhausting, or is it just continually rewarding?
Yeah. Very proud of him, and obviously he may want your services one day, so if I can do my bit this time, obviously, hopefully there'll be more people around me when he actually decides to leave. But one of the main things I thoroughly enjoyed was we were building a new primary school, and obviously we were engagement with local schools in the area, comprehensive schools, and we had the task of putting on a 20-week program. I think it was 20-week program over a period of time for the lower achievers of the school. And we set them a program. We had them all kitted out in Kia branding. They came on site, they did visits, they did collaborative work and everything. And it went on that their work that they contributed towards those 20 weeks got them a Princess Trust Award as well. So I was absolutely delighted. And they could see their worth again. And they took an interest in school and took an interest in turning up. And right at the beginning of the program, some didn't bother to come in an uniform or anything. And towards the end, we sort of had the changed the mentality of it altogether. Really good.
That's
so
incredible.
That was good.
So just in summary, Michelle, we'll start with you. So for those that have been kind of struggling to break into this space, just get social value and the support that you have and your ability to work with other people, get that as a thread through the CV. So let's strengthen that in the first instance. For those with less experience, there are some pathways that can be offered just to break into that. But get a mentor who's networked in that space, get some work experience just to kind of get you closer to it. For the more established and senior candidates, again, review the CV just to make sure that it's reading and it's aligned with the role. And then just start applying for the roles, and hopefully you'll kind of sift through it. So anything else there, or any other advice?
I think that whole brand piece. So if you are visible on LinkedIn, make sure that the story you're telling is that you want to be in that field and you want to be an SME in that area, because that is something you find, you do look at the candidates on there. So please do make sure your brand is on point. And I think that's you recap the rest perfectly. Thank you.
And to Megan and Alison, for Keir, advice you would give?
Well, I just put a note there. Please feel free to reach out to us all on LinkedIn. Follow some of the work we already do. There's some work that I've done previously in my role on CSI. You can go back on the feeds. but there's work there that I'm currently doing in the military, with charity organisations, and more importantly as well, we've got links to our supply chain. So all our supply chain have to have CSR coordinators now to be able to align with our requirements as a management company. So yeah, reach out to us on LinkedIn, please. We'd be more than happy to support you.
And Megan, final words.
Just stay positive. Like, there's so many opportunities out there. If you're feeling a bit browbeaten, you know, we can almost indefinitely say you've weathered tougher storms. This storm's just a different variety. But yeah, stay positive. There's so much support there for you. Don't feel like a cheeky kid asking for help. You know, we're not here because Angela and Caroline have us in an arm lock secretly. We're here because we actually do want to help, and there's so many people across industry that feel the same. So please do shout. Please do stay positive. And yeah, I can see your question about management roles. We'll work with Caroline and the team to see where your skills best fit. Sort of lining people up with roles that are specific to them. But yeah, stay really positive. It will be fine. You will be fine. You will actually be a lot more than fine.
And don't worry, I suppose, on the back of that, Megan, don't worry if it is 2 or 3 roles before you find that really good fit, because it is totally normal. It takes 2 years to transition out, apparently, really successfully, to find your feet and feel comfortable in that kind of civilian environment. And don't worry if that's 4 roles in that 2 years. You know, hopefully it won't be that way for everyone, but if it is, that's normal.
You're your own desk officer now. You know, when you're in the military, you're subject to Glasgow, you're subject to the recommendations of your management, which brings with it a certain amount of security. But you fill that role now. You're your own desk officer, so you plot your career, you plot your transitions, you plot where, you plot when. So you can either see that as something that's so overwhelming and frightening, or you can see that as something that is an absolute gift.
Okay, well, listen, thank you to Michelle Wiggins, Megan Porter and Alison Reid for their incredible contribution today, and for all the help and support that they give others, and for making the world a better place. And thanks to Amy and Keir for being best in class in supporting our ex-military and in this social value space. And to our military community, what a great career this is. It's bringing together the best of a lot of the skills that you already have. So remember, you're not alone. BuildForce are here to support and guide you as you transition. So please get in touch with the team if you've got any questions. And I'll pass back to Caroline for some final insights.
Thank you, Angela. Yeah, I'd just like to thank you all, and just like to echo that BuildForce is in your corner. You want connections with the ladies on here, we can connect you with them, and the wider Amy Care, and of course our other network of employers. We're here to support you all the way. You're not on your own. But one last call out: if you want to get more from Megan, you can be walking with her for 15 miles if you want to. So next week we're celebrating our fantastic military magic with Armed Forces Week, and ending on the 29th of June, like we always do, with the BuildForce Armed Forces Day 15-mile walk around Dorset. There's going to be 20 of us there, a mixture of employers, veterans, mentors, service leavers, and Megan is there. It's a fantastic walk and talk. 15 miles, it's only a little jaunt, and then we end in the pub for much needed refreshments and more jollies. So please do join us. If you want to join us, just drop an email to BuildForce, info@buildforce.org.uk. It's a fantastic day, and hopefully the sun will still be shining. Who knows? So that's it. That's a wrap. Have a wonderful weekend, and remember, we're in your corner. You're not alone. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, guys.